Hi, welcome. We have a very special speaker here today. As a student advisor, my name is Heidi Sulcas with IE Abroad. We get a lot of questions about rankings, what they mean, is it important to go to a highly ranked university? So I thought we would invite a very special guest, Alicia Butterfield from Loughborough University, which is one of the top 5 universities in the UK. And she is going to give us a presentation about rankings and what they mean and how to navigate them. So Alicia, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Hi there, Heidi. Thank you very much for having me. And you're right, it's a really important question that lots of students ask about. So one of the things that I'd like to cover today is just to try and enlighten you as to how to decipher university rankings and what they mean and where they come from in the first place. So that's what we're going to discuss. As Heidi rightly introduced me, I'm from Loughborough University, which is one of the UK's top universities. And we are highly ranked, but there is more to universities than the rankings as well, as I'm going to explain. So they are important in terms of your journey trying to ascertain which university to study at. Rankings can be a really useful guide in finding out more information as a starting point. However, they're so confusing and there's so many different rankings now that it can actually become a bit of a labyrinth and quite difficult to find your way around. For the UK, there are 3 major national rankings, and these are the Times Higher Education rankings, the Guardian, and then there's the Complete University Guide. And all these rankings are independent of universities. They're not what the universities say about themselves. They're independently judged by measurable outcomes, and they're usually independent newspapers as well, and they're updated annually. So those are the big 3, Times, Guardian, and Complete University Guide. But as you can see from this list, the rankings do vary depending on which guide you're looking at. So you'll notice on this list that it's the usual suspects of universities which are in the top group, but they move around within that top set. And actually universities can move around quite drastically over time as well. So we're going to take a little look into why this is the case that they change like this. And also what does it actually mean? What's the difference between being maybe 5th or being 10th? And is the difference that huge? This is how the different rankings are actually devised. So as you can see in the Times Higher Education ranking, they attribute 16% to student satisfaction. And student satisfaction is broken down into 2 areas, the areas of teaching quality and student experience. But there is a definite weighting on teaching quality for the Times. If you can compare that to the 10% that the Guardian attaches onto something called the NSS. The NSS is the National Student Survey. And again, it shows that the Guardian attaches more weighting relatively on the overall satisfaction of students than it does onto the other 2 criteria. There are also other criteria in there as well. So for example, the student-staff ratio is something which features more highly in the Guardian ranking than it does do in the Times, or that it does do in the Complete University Guide. So all of these different analyses account for why it is that some universities might be more highly rated within the different bandings. They also look at measurable outcomes such as how much universities are spending on campus facilities. So if we develop a new building, perhaps we add a medical research centre on campus and that costs £20 million, then the rating for that particular indicator will go up. However, student satisfaction might go down slightly because there is some building works on campus and students weren't very happy about it. So universities can gain in one particular area and then they could potentially lose in a different area of one of the indicators. For the Complete University Guide as well, there is another area that's particularly relevant, and that is the 3rd indicator down in the Complete University Guide, where we talk about research quality as well. The Complete University Guide and the Times both put a slightly larger weighting on research quality of the research that the universities are generating. And they also look at other measurables, for example, how many students come out with what we call a good honours degree. So that would be a 2nd class upper, a 2-1 or above, or a 1st class. And they also look at how many students will complete their degree as well. So what is the dropout rate for the university? Because the higher that is, the more of an indicator that the university isn't meeting the students' needs for some reason. So these are the different weightings that we attribute. So just to summarize, from those statistics, what we can take, the Guardian is likely to be more geared towards universities which are higher scoring in terms of student satisfaction. And student satisfaction covers a whole range of different things, everything from how happy the students are with the living conditions on campus, how happy they are with the teaching, generally how satisfied they are with support getting a job in the future. The Times, on the other hand, puts a higher weighting on things like research quality. So what type of research is the university conducting? Is it world-class research? So is it going to have a global impact? Does it involve working with other universities around the world as well, which makes for a much more diverse group of students and lecturers on campus? And conversely to that, the Guardian doesn't even put research quality into its methodology. So you will see slightly different grades for each. So hopefully this now explains why a university, which is in the top set, might be scored slightly different in each one. One thing to note with UK universities, they will almost always tell you the top ranking that they have. So rather than giving you all three, they might just tell you their best ranking, or they might describe themselves as being a top 20 university or a top 25 university. And what they mean by that is usually that they either have just one rating that puts them in that group, or that they move around within that group quite freely. So the advice is just be a little bit discerning, look to see what the universities are telling you. And if they give you just one ranking, make sure that you check all three of them, and that way you get a better cross-section of how the university is performing across all these different areas of indicators. There's also something called the QS World Rankings. So outside of just the UK rankings, these are the university rankings of the world. And you might find that there's quite a disparity sometimes between where your university is in the UK ranking versus where it stands in the world rankings. But you can see potentially why that might be. So here you can see the weighting, the biggest weighting by far is on academic reputation, which is 40%. If a university perhaps doesn't have a significant department, which would be very helpful in boosting its reputation globally. So for example, law, or medicine or architecture, if it doesn't have one of those three departments, or even two of those three departments, then it's going to find the academic reputation rating is quite a bit lower than one would have expected otherwise. So those are the official rankings. Just to make it extra confusing for you, there are a whole bunch of other rankings and seals of approval and general feedback areas as well that you can look at. The best advice when addressing these would probably be to take them as a snapshot indicator of your university. The reality is, a lot of the time, these awards are just there to validate what the university was doing already. So for example, things like University of the Year awards, or What Uni Student Choice Awards, or which university University of the Year. Those types of things are nice to have. They will be an indicator that the university is generally performing well in that area. For some universities, so for example, awards like the Best Student Experience Award, there are patterns with that, and I'm a little bit biased because Loughborough has won that award 8 out of 14 years. But generally, that's because of our sport. And what they're trying to do there is just demonstrate the university is generally strong performing in the area of student experience. So again, these are indicators, but these are not the only criteria that you should look at. And if your university didn't win it one particular year, or if it didn't come inside the top 10, it's not necessarily grounds for concern. There is one award on this list, which is probably one of the more important ones, especially for undergraduate students, and that is the Teaching Excellence Framework. So that's the blue icon there that you can see, the TEF icon. Universities will have a rating for their TEF result, and they will be bronze, silver or gold. Teaching excellence will look at things like how available were the lecturers, Did the students have access to their teachers during the course time? They'll look at how teaching was delivered. What were marks given back in a satisfactory time frame? Were students generally happy with the support that they get? And did teachers also go above and beyond in terms of providing references, maybe providing industry links or career advice to students as well? So the TEF is pretty important for undergraduate students. Don't forget though that gold standard is excellent, silver is very good, bronze is good. So even a bronze awarded university in the TEF is still a very good university result to get. So there's nothing wrong with getting a bronze in the teaching. For postgraduate students, it will be more relevant to you. The sister award for that is the REF, the Research Excellence Framework. Those are conducted every 4 years. And those will be an update about the research output of the university. So for postgraduate students, especially PhD students, again, you'll be looking at the REF to make sure that the university is a university of good standing in those results. But those are the most important ones. So just a quick summary for you then. Make sure that you're analytical. Don't just go with what universities tell you in their marketing brochure or when you meet their marketing representative. It's very easy for a university to say to you, we're number 2 in accounting and finance. And what they actually mean is we were ranked 2nd for student satisfaction in 2012 for accountancy and finance. That is not the same as being 2nd overall. So make sure you're a little bit objective with this. Dig down into what ranking they're giving you. Make sure that you look at all the rankings available for those 3 major UK-based rankings, Guardian, Times and Complete University Guide. But rankings aren't everything, so bear in mind those other factors as well. Location, employability statistics, what the environment is like for your university, and also ask around amongst your friends or relatives because word of mouth is really important too. So you might just guess somebody's actual recommendation of the university. Yes, they might have the rankings to back it up, but it's good to have those other factors in place as well. And also at the moment, especially, lots of universities are offering virtual events. So do make the most of those and attend them where you can. And remember as well, rankings can change over time. So what's less likely to change, for example, would probably be things like links with employers, placement opportunities, that type of thing. But rankings can change over time and they can change back again. So they're not the be all and end all, and they shouldn't be considered to be the main driving force for your decision.
Thank you, Alicia. That was fantastic. A lot of food for thought. We will look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for being with us.